different vibe, but it's actually really nice because sometimes when you're on a tour for a long period of time, it can kind of feel like Groundhog Day because it's like the same kind of show. You know, they're all great, but it's actually nice to change it up a bit. Like to play Rio last night was unbelievable on a very different kind of stage, a festival vibe. There's a different vibe in festivals, and this is something that's this acoustic thing is something that's very new to us. So we didn't know how this would work.
Been a lot of time sitting in
hotel rooms going
practicing, yeah.
Going out, this is going to work. But no, it's actually, you've got to prepare, but it's also really nice. It's a really nice kind of change, and obviously we're back to doing the Maiden thing tomorrow, which is just, if you guys haven't seen it yet, it's unbelievable, and it's going to be a great show. So I'm very looking forward to it.
Gente, só pra saber, tipo, se vocês precisam que traduzam, assim, vocês querem... Ou tá tudo bem? Tá tudo bem? Ah, então show, é isso aí, galera. Se tiver mais uma pergunta, vai mandando.
Please. The album Conspiracy was written based a legend about the crows in the London Tower.
Yeah, the ravens in the London Tower.
Yes. Yeah. Could you tell us a little more about this?
Yeah.
Sing it down to George.
Yeah, I'll let George explain this one.
Pass that the mic.
Oh,
you're cool.
It's all tangled.
Cheers. So yeah, that's. I mean, a conspiracy is a term for a collective of ravens, which is kind of why that word came to us in the first place for the album title, which kind of made sense. But yeah, the artwork with Conspiracy and the whole thing, it's all revolved around the band name, the Raven Age, which is derived from the ravens of the Tower of London. So the British legend is, if ravens ever leave the tower or they're taken or they fly away, then the British Empire will fall. So that's kind of...
I think what's interesting about it though is they actually keep ravens in the Tower of London for exactly that reason.
Yeah, they're still there today.
They're still there, yeah.
Just had the very first raven born.
Yeah.
In the tower in something like, I don't know, how many years?
30, 40 years, something like that.
Which is good.
So they're keeping it alive.
We're not getting fucked yet.
Yeah. We're not going anywhere just yet.
Brexit is looming though.
Yeah.
True. Ravens might leave then,
Yeah.
Thank you.
No worries.
Okay. I think my question, everybody wants to know, is about you guys open to Iron Maiden. Everybody knows that the Iron Maiden fans are very devoted, and they usually doesn't watch the shows, the special guests, and we saw you guys in Sacramento in September 9, and we were very far. And the people in the floor are testing, and you guys play, and we, oh my God, I wish I were there. Yes.
That's
and awesome. What the feeling about this? We know you are the son, but
Fortunately, from stage we can't see those people that are texting. We just see the guys down the front who love it. So,
I mean, obviously that is a big thing. Everybody knows it's one of the hardest support gigs I think in rock and metal because people are there for Iron Maiden. They're not there for any other reason. And there's been some huge, very big bands that have supported Iron Maiden over the years that haven't done very well. But we're very grateful for the fact that we've toured with Maiden a couple of times now, and the fans largely seem to really get what we're doing, and most of the time they're very accepting of us, which is really nice because it's a hard thing to crack. They've been trying to do it. It was one of the reasons we got asked to do this tour, because we did really well in the European bit of the Legacy of the Beast, and they asked us to come back because they said, look, you guys did well with the fans, and that's a hard thing, and we're very grateful that it's gone down that way because they're very notoriously unforgiving. So it's been great, and we haven't honestly, hand to heart, I haven't had one bad show on this entire tour. It's
I
all
have
been...
had one beer thrown at me.
Oh yeah, no, that's true.
One beer.
And on a whole tour, that's good. On a whole tour, that's pretty good. At least we think it was beer.
Well, I hope it was beer.
Yeah,
Beer
we
or
hope it was
water.
beer.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is hard, but we've been very, very, very lucky, and it's been a great tour.
Yeah.
More questions?
I have one that blends what he said and what she said. Many bands have opened for, like, one day you're open for Iron Maiden, the other day you were opening for Tremonti, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And then you're going to open for Alter Bridge on their next leg on Europe. How do you turn that event thing, that you have all the infrastructure of a stadium and all that big stage show, and then you're going to play a small venue where Tremonti or Alter Bridge are going to play, and then you have to reduce some of your things and maybe turn the key for a smaller...
I think for us, we've always strived to sort of, we always say this, when we go out and we do a headline show or a club tour with a band that's, that's at that level, we always say that we want to put a stadium-sized show into a club. So we try and scale down what we do on this tour. We still keep our production mostly the exact same. We've got slightly smaller backdrop for those smaller stages. We still use the same stage artwork, we still use the same backline. We might scale down some of our equipment just to accommodate those stage sizes, but where best, we try our best not to compromise on that so that we can still deliver that stadium experience, but in a much smaller, intimate environment.
Make sure the energy is the same.
Yeah. And yeah, it's a lot of work in the studio goes into working out what set list will work for these tours, and we spent a long time before this Maiden tour working out what songs we wanted to present to the Maiden fans from the new album and from the previous album. And in the next tour, when we go out of Alter Bridge, we're probably going to completely change up that set list to accommodate the Alter Bridge fans, because they've got a completely different style of music. So it's all about showing our diversity, really.
More questions?
What was the biggest challenge in producing the new album?
Well, the biggest challenge, I think, well, it was hard for me because obviously this was the first album I did with the band, and it's the first album Tony did with the band as well. So we were we were thinking we want this to be a Raven Age album, but we also want it to be what the band is now. We want it to be unique. We don't want it to sound like previous things. So it was. And from that standpoint, it was nerves to make sure this is going to be a bit of a different album. We hope people will like it. That was more what we were doing. We were trying to just get the best product out there we physically could. And
the other thing as well with changing singers so early on in a band's life cycle, a lot of our fans that we picked up early on in our career were hesitant to opening their minds up to a new singer, and that was a big challenge for us because we were faced with people making comments saying, "Oh, they're not too sure on this," and they're not. "Oh, they maybe prefer Mike and this that, and the other." But as the album's gone on, as they've listened to it more, they've realised that it's a completely different product to what we put out originally. It's still a Raven Age album, but it's a different twist on a Raven Age album.
Reinvented.
Reinvented, yeah, that's probably the best way to put it.
And the great thing is now it's out and it's done, so well. We're so happy with the reception that the Conspiracy album has got. It just kind of, that's the hard bit done. Now we're going to try and beat it and evolve on the album number 3. So yeah, but the foundation and the groundwork is done. So that's really good.
I don't know about the other guys, but I've heard that the album, well, here in Brazil we don't have it.
The physical version.
Yeah.
I think you can order it on our website.
Yes, and I heard a complaint about a record store owner.
Yeah.
That when I said, well, I just got back from the States and I bought the Raven Age album. You did? How much? $10. Oh, I should ask you to bring 10 of them. And if you not told me. So I don't know what you think about this kind of shifting between the physical, like me, I would like to have it on my hand, but I know that people here in Brazil only listen to you on Spotify, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's
always a difficult.
It's a difficult thing because we this album was very much kind of self-released by ourselves, so it's down to shipment worldwide of physical copies. It's one of those things you've got to weigh up the costs. And as I said, everything that the album is available on our website, and we are reaching that age where the physical copies of things are sadly wavering.
Collectibles more than.
But that's what it's becoming. That's why vinyl has become very important again, because it's something that's especially I think in rock and metal, like people really value that, which is why we are so grateful that we've got, you know, the loyalty of you guys, especially, you know, because it means a lot, because that's what's going to give rock and metal longevity, I think, because I think that rock and metal have the most loyal fans on the planet. You know, it's not like 5 second, you know, like in pop and other things like
community.
that. Yeah, it's more of a
family.
Yeah, it's a family thing, which is why having physical copies and having, you know, memorabilia is so important. So
it's becoming more of a merchandise thing
than
something that someone needs to collect, right?
Exactly, absolutely.
And that's exactly why whenever we tour, we always tour with physical
Vinyls.
copies of albums and vinyls, etc. So that mostly people want it to be signed.
Yeah.
And then they'll never listen to it, they'll just keep it as a keepsake, which is great.
And mine is here, okay?
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Great stuff. I'm glad you put it with you.
More questions?
May I?
Yeah.
I reckon you guys are in the middle of the tour cycle right now. 6 months in, something like that.
No, we were.
6 months into the conspiracy tour. So.
Conspiracy.
And you guys told something about the third album. And in the middle of the set, you said something about, you know, sing it in a higher register, something like that. Are you guys writing something right now? Anything right now? And do you feel how different it is?
We're always writing.
There's always ideas in the pipeline.
Yeah, we don't ever stop writing. That's because, you know, we enjoy doing it. You know, it's not like we put a time frame aside to go, right, now we'll start writing. We're always writing and throwing around ideas, and yes, we are definitely in the phase of trying to figure out album number 3, because that's the way you got to do it. You got to keep the ball rolling. So we're in that frame of mind, and we've got some great ideas floating around. We've done a lot of writing on this tour as well. So yeah, the plan is basically the conspiracy cycle will pretty much end where we've got a headline show at the end of this year in London, which is kind of a big kind of celebration of the conspiracy album. It's, you know, got a few different things happening. And our plan is to potentially go back into the studio next year and work on album number 3. So
that's not to say that conspiracy won't be toured next year.
No, yeah, exactly. But of the end of this year is what I'm saying.
And can you say something about, I mean, how, if it's a little bit different now with the new singer or something?
I think the dynamic always changes. When you swap out members of a band and stuff, the dynamic always changes,
I mean, obviously, when it comes down to songwriting, we all have different ideas and that, and we all collaborate together and that. And I think naturally that changes when you have, obviously, myself and MJ come in as well. So just natural change.
Got a bit more time to work on stuff with MJ this time round as well, because some stuff was written as you joined, and there was a bit of a rush to get it together and try and get it out and stuff. It all kind of worked out, but this time we've got a bit more time to work.
There's a lot of preparation.
The 5 of us.
It was much more, Conspiracy is a much more collaborative album than the previous album was. You know, a lot of the stuff from the previous album was written, not set in stone as such, but it was written in such a way that it was presented that this is going to be the first record. You know, we all had, I mean, myself and Jai, we had our input on that record, but for the most part, George and Dan had spent years writing that first album to be what it was. And then Conspiracy, obviously we were all members of the band by that point, which, you know, we all collaborated together to come up with that record.
Okay? Okay. Can we make the photo again?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.